Hey there, true believers. Watch as once again frightening forces are at work in our world, ready to wreak havoc with our very existence.
Hey guys, welcome to another edition of Wes vs. Backlog. It's been a while, but welcome back. I'm your host, Mr. Wes Gardner. Today we're taking a look at a game from 2010 called Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions.
Tablet of order and chaos.
So Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions was published by Activision and developed by Beenox, and it was released worldwide in September of 2010 for the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, the Nintendo Wii, and the Nintendo DS, and then came out later in November 2010 on the PC. Shattered Dimensions tells the story of the Tablet of Order and Chaos, which shatters into pieces during a fight between Spider-Man and Mysterio, which causes 4 different time rifts to open up. Madam Web then summons 4 different Spider-Men to help put the Marvel Universe realities back the way they were before all this madness started. And since the tablet broke into about 17 pieces, you guessed it, there's about 17 levels. Each time rift, though, has a Spider-Man kind of attached to it, so you get to play as 4 different Spider-Men. You get to play as Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, Ultimate Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2099.
Save the universe and looking good while doing it.
So every Spider-Man uses a similar combo system that mixes kind of your heavy attacks and your light attacks, aerial combos, and web techniques. But depending on the specific dimension you're in, that Spider-Man has distinct abilities. So for instance, Ultimate Spider-Man uses his symbiote suit in order to take out large groups of enemies super fast, while Spider-Man Noir has hidden stealth takedowns whenever you're hiding in the shadows.
You don't look so good. There are people in danger all over the place here.
Each level is constructed in a similar manner, so no matter what dimension you're in, whenever the level opens up, you're in a small little intro area that establishes where you're at and the place that you're in, and then introduces you to the boss for that level. Then you'll wail on some bad guys for a little bit and partake in a few scripted events, and then that leads you to your first encounter with the boss, so kind of the middle of the level, you have a small boss fight. Then you'll fight off some more generic enemies or do other scripted events like getaway scenes or rescuing hostages. Then you'll do the final big boss fight for that level. This pace works well for the most part, but after doing the same thing for, 13 or 14 levels, I was starting to get a bit burned out by it. The set pieces are nice, and they do a great job of conveying each respective dimension you're a part of, but it felt like window dressing at a certain point, and it was hard to keep interest knowing that every level begins and ends exactly the same way. So it made longer fights, or fights that I kind of got hung up on, or kind of just bizarrely non-specific quest goals that I had to do. It made it a little more frustrating because it had that feeling of, okay, yeah, I've done this before, just get me to the boss fight, let me get to the next level. I will say, though, that there were quite a few standout levels for me, including Carnage taking over the S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, a Hammerhead Noir, which, I didn't know this, but this was made specifically for the video game. There's no comic book for Hammerhead Noir. This was just an invention by the game developers. Deadpool has this awesome Outer Heaven-esque deep-sea military base that was a lot of fun, and Goblin has a really cool noir carnival that you get to partake in, and that was really neat. So, I mean, each level in the game has its high points and low points, but these 4 in particular really stood out for me by having kind of higher highs than the rest of the other levels. Now, I know the question kind of on everybody's mind is, does this game dethrone Spider-Man 2, that came out, on PS2 and GameCube, as the best Spider-Man game ever made? No way. I mean, the reason why I and a lot of other people like Spider-Man 2 is because it had that sense of kind of free roam gameplay and quest markers, and the web swinging in Spider-Man 2 was out of this world. It was super good. Now, Shattered Dimensions is much more limited in scope and linear by comparison, so it's not as open-ended. It's pretty linear going from point A to point B. But I will say that the web-swinging mechanic to get around the levels quickly is really responsive, and it's pretty fun once you nail it down. And some of the later levels are a little bit more spread out to give you a few times to use that web swing ability, and it's pretty fun. It works well as also kind of a get me out of here escape from if enemies start to overwhelm you, which later in the game you start fighting a lot of people all in one spot. So it's good to kind of get out of jail free card. And it also helps to get distance between you and a boss. There's also kind of an auto stick that you'll see. Little arrows will point to little posts that you can hit the R2 button, just fly towards. It's super helpful for getting out of dodge real quick. But instead of comparing the game with Spider-Man 2, I would actually compare this game more closely to one of my favorite games growing up, a game that I played, for years and years back in the day. The Sega Genesis and SNES cult classic Maximum Carnage. So, I mean, levels are set up pretty similar. You establish your setting, you go down a linear path, and you beat up the bad guys, and then at the end of each level, you have your boss fight. And in between those levels, you even have kind of little mini games using web swinging and climbing buildings and stuff. So it really does have that same vibe. And also, I mean, it even has point tallies at the end of it. So, you go through it, you do your combos really well, you're going to get higher points. The same thing for Shattered Dimensions. The beat-em-up gameplay is a little more advanced in Shattered Dimensions because it's been, over 15 years since Maximum Carnage came out. But I am happy to say that you can definitely see that Maximum Carnage DNA that's being used as sort of a foundation that they built upon for Shattered Dimensions. So, for experimentation, I also tracked down a copy of the Nintendo DS version of Shattered Dimensions. And it has a few wild differences. So, instead of a God of War-esque layout for each level, Shattered Dimensions for the DS is set up like a Metroidvania. Kind of that side-scrolling Castlevania exploration, Metroid, Super Metroid type stuff. It has a map that fills in as you explore. There's hidden save points and collectibles and unlockables that require specific abilities in order to find. So for instance, there's certain blockades that require a stomp maneuver that you unlock after, I think, the first 2 or 3 boss fights. And also interesting for the DS version is there's no Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man is not in the game, so you only play as Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man Noir, and Spider-Man 2099, and levels are way shorter. So where the console version and the PC version that I played, levels can take anywhere from 25 minutes on the low end to over an hour if you're really wanting to dig in and explore. Each level on the DS took about 10 minutes, 20 if I was really hardcore about getting every single thing. But I think for a handheld, that's a smart design decision, because it's more, just pick it up and go, it's bite size, it has way more forgiving checkpoints, the combat's a little easier, more basic, but on a smaller screen I think that works pretty well. So overall, I enjoyed my time with Shattered Dimensions. I ended the game, I think, a little over 9 hours played on the in-game clock, and my Steam profile shows 11 hours played. So I got 109 out of 180 collectibles and unlocks, seeing as how I beat levels kind of on a mix of easy and normal, depending on what the level was. And you have easy, normal, and hard. And the higher difficulty levels grant more unlocks. You can actually unlock concept art. You get more points for combos to unlock abilities and things like that. So you can purchase all those upgrades, and of course, whenever you have the more upgrades, you get higher completion percentage. But I don't think I'll be digging into the game anymore to get more unlocks and stuff now that I've beaten it. I think I've just had my fill of it. It's a fun game. I did have a lot of fun. But it's just, I'm kind of one and done with it. Like, I played it, yeah, good game. But something I did want to bring up is the fact that you can no longer digitally purchase this game. Activision pulled the rights to Spider-Man and, oddly enough, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, meaning the best way, and as of this recording, the only way, to get the game is a physical copy of the Xbox 360, Nintendo Wii, or the PS3 version, or you can hit up eBay and try to grab a version for Windows. But I mean, I'm sure the license agreements will kind of sort out. Something tells me this has to do with the new Spider-Man Homecoming movie coming out, and kind of distribution rights and all that fun stuff. And I'm sure this will get sorted out and you'll be able to play it again digitally, but you know, you can't get it on Steam, it's not on PlayStation Now, it's not on the Xbox One backwards compatibility. You just can't get it. can't get it anymore. So as of right now, it's this weird relic, this like lost in time game. So if you wanna play it, you got to track it down, the physical copy of it. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts on it, if you're wanting a spiritual successor to Spider-Man 2, and you want something that's big and open-ended, and it's a game to live out all your Spider-Man dreams, I think you might come up a little disappointed with Shattered Dimensions. But if you're just wanting to have like a fun little weekend of playing as 4 different Spider-Men, and they all have awesome voice acting, you know, Neil Patrick Harris, and you look at the list, and it's a rock star list of voice actors. You know, it has fun combos, fun fighting. It is what it is. It is what it is. I think if you want to blow off some steam, just play a fun superhero action game for about 10 hours or so. I think you could do a lot worse than Shattered Dimensions. And I think this game will kind of fit the bill nicely up until that, the rumored infamous-esque Spider-Man game comes out. So this is good filler. I hope that you'll be able to digitally purchase it again soon. Because it is worth a look. I wouldn't pay for it full price, but if you're getting it for, you know, $20, I think that's a decent shout. Good little 10-hour gameplay, unlockables, and like I said, I completed about a little over 50% of the game if you count all the unlockables and combos and things like that. So there's a lot more to the game that I could dig into, but I think I've had my fill of it. But yeah, we can put this one to bed. Completed. Wipe my hands. Can't believe it. We actually completed a video game. Unbelievable. But that's going to do it for this edition of Wes vs. Backlog. What did you think about Shattered Dimensions? If you played it, give me a shout on Twitter, twitter.com/CommieToHobo. Also, go to CommieToHobo.com. You'll get all the Brothering Around podcast episodes, all sorts of fun stuff over there on the website, so check that out. And yeah, let me know here in the comments. What did you think about this game? Did you play it? Were you disappointed? Were you excited? Did it fit the bill nicely for you? Let me know. But guys, until next time, I'm Wes Gardner, Mr. Commie to Hobo, and this has been another edition of Wes vs. Backlog.